Hey guys, thank you for listening to Horror Movie Night. Today's episode is brought to you by our donator, Ashen Phoenix. They are a cosplaying company. You can follow them on Twitter at Team Ashen, ASHEN, and follow them on their YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/C/Ashen Phoenix. Now let's talk about some horror movies. Welcome to Horror Movie Night. This week, we discuss a movie about kids who find an ancient text, and it causes demons to inhabit the bodies of their friends and neighbors. I will give you, 6 guesses as to which movie we're discussing. Okay, go ahead. No, it's not Evil Dead. No, not Evil Dead 2. No, not Todd in the Book of Pure Evil. Okay, fine, fuck it. It's New Zealand's Deathgasm. So, this was suggested to us by a listener, and that listener sent us a very nice email. So I'm going to go ahead and read that before we shit all over their life and dreams. It says, "Hey guys, hello, my name is Noah. I'm a huge fan of the podcast and a friend of Matt's. I listen to all the episodes and I love what you guys are doing. It's hilarious, interesting, and always gives me ideas, good or bad, about what I should watch. I wanted to recommend my own pick, however. Deathgasm, a great horror comedy from the last year with a number of directorial influences and an incredible dildo fight scene. The story centers around teenage misanthrope and an avid metalhead, Brody, as he adjusts to the shitty life in a new town and brings about the end of the world thanks to the Black Hymn, a song that summons the Blind One, a.k.a. the Demon King. Annex ensue, including the aforementioned dildo fight, in an effort to reverse the apocalypse. It's great. Yeah. It's great, funny, and a gory film that's loads of fun to watch. Thanks and have fun. Noah. P.S. Don't worry, Adam. There's 2 great sets of boobs on display. If you want to count it as one, though, it's a gnarly castration. Might modify the effects of the first pair." I
was still into it. It was still good.
So I will say this much about Noah. I know Noah because he is the 17-year-old brother of one of my friends. So...
Oh shit! That explains it all.
Yeah, I was going to say that
makes so much sense. Yeah.
So let's talk about Deathgasm. I watched this yesterday morning via Netflix, and I didn't hate this movie, but this is definitely like, you ever watch a movie and just like, yep, that's the only time I ever need to watch that. Like, it just...
Wait, was this your first time?
Yeah, I'd never seen it before.
Oh, you're so lucky. Adam, was this your first time watching it?
Yeah, I had never seen it before either.
God, I've seen this movie 2.5 times now, and it's terrible.
Well, I'm on kind of the same page as Matt here. I didn't hate it, but I feel like it's unoriginal and uninspired and didn't need to be made, and they just sort of took bits and pieces from better movies. There's a fucking drill guitar in this movie. They even stole from Slumber Party Massacre.
Well, now you know why I hate this movie. No, but seriously, okay, I really dislike this movie. I don't hate it. It's just so goddamn mediocre.
Yeah.
Like, as you guys both said, it's been done before and better by other movies, and TV shows. Todd in the Book of Pure Evil is basically only... It's not even a decomposed corpse yet. Like it's still pretty fresh, and they are totally ripping off the entire fucking concept. It really just grinds my gears. This movie, like people, I mean, I was even excited when I saw the trailer. I was like, oh man, that looks pretty sweet. And I knew that it had a bunch of actual heavy metal bands' music in it. I mean, I knew that the Skullfist song, "Hour to Live," which I can't remember what part it plays in, but it's it's the song that's playing in the background when the main character goes into the record shop for the first time. That's a great song. I was pretty stoked because that was all in the trailer. When I first saw the trailer, I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be full of like modern heavy metal. But a lot of the music, even in the background, isn't it's not heavy metal. It's like there's some hard rock and there's some like new metal, and he's got Trivium posters up, and he thinks that and they talk about death metal, but Trivium's not death metal. Trivium is like the Justin Bieber of death metal. And
that's when I knew I wasn't gonna like this kid. Is he's like that's like one of the first things you see him do is he gets his new room and he takes down the Jeeves stuff and he puts up a Trivium poster, and I'm like, fuck off, get out.
Yeah, but like I can't blame the kid. Like I can't blame the character. It's the writers. They basically just are trying to cash in on like heavy metal's popularity, which is absurd because it's not nearly as popular as they think it is. But like because their band they dress up like black metal, like, you know, they have the corpse paint in that one scene, but they don't write death metal or black metal. It's like this weird, shitty dirt metal that, like, if anybody lives near or has lived near Northeastern Ohio, there used to be this concert venue in Cleveland called Peabody's Down Under, which is ironic because Peabody's Down Under, Australia, New Zealand, blah, blah, blah. But that place they'd put like 10 local bands on a tour package that already has 4 bands, and they put it on between 2 and 3 stages. And there were always like 3 to 5 of those local bands were these dad metal, dirt metal bands where they like couldn't write a song to save their lives, and they all play Dean guitars because all the guitar players want to be Dimebag Darrell. And they're just the worst riffs you've ever heard. That's what their band is like. Also, the weird thing about this is that their band name is Deathgasm with 1 A, like Deth gasm. But the movie is titled Deathgasm.
It's a real Beetlejuice kind of thing.
But it's even worse than that because it's like it's not even internally consistent. Nothing about this is consistent, and they're just throwing shit on the wall. And, like, nothing really horror happens until they play the black hymn. I guess there's a decapitation. And then they play the black hymn, and people start puking blood. And then there's that scene where the guy's, like, shitting blood, and then he pukes blood on the girl. And I was like, man, I know the only people that like this movie are high schoolers because they like that it's based in high school.
Yeah.
And they've probably not seen the movies that this movie is ripping off, which is not a diss on high school kids that like horror. You got to start somewhere.
But they definitely haven't seen Todd in the Book of Pure Evil, because that's still a very underground thing still, but it's great. Like, it's like
one of the best horror TV shows I've ever seen. Like, the music is all original in that show. The music is killer. Like, the guy that wrote it is also the guy. It's like Metalocalypse, but live action, and in my opinion, way funnier.
Oh yeah, like Noah, I'm speaking directly to the person who picked this movie because I'm pretty sure he's never seen Todd in the Book of Pure Evil. Next time you come over, I'll lend you both seasons, and you will watch Deathgasm again and be like, okay, I get why they don't like this movie.
Well, and that's the thing. Also, is that I've seen this movie more times than you guys, and spoiler alert to everybody that's not listened to at least 2 episodes previously, I was in a metal band for a decade. Like, I have seen the worst of the worst when it comes to, like, posers. I hate to use that term because it makes me feel like a douche, but, like, the guy that wrote this movie or the group that wrote this movie are posers. They're just trying to, like, cash in on the concept of metal being popular and utilize it because, you know, in the 80s, hair metal, you know, like Trick or Treat and all those Satanic Panic horror movies where there's, like, you know, metal is the music of the devil. Like, it's all been done. It just bugs the crap. This movie bugs the crap out of me because it's not original or fun. Like, I don't think that I've ever laughed any of the times that I've watched it. The dildo scene is really its only claim to fame, and that dildo fight is not that funny. It's really not. Like, the only funny thing is when the asshole friend waves the dildo at the main character's, the big black dildo at the main character's face, and he, like, licks the dildo accidentally. That was the only part that you want to even chuckle at. But, like, this movie is just not clever. And I can take a bad movie if it's clever. You know, I mean, like, you guys know that. You know me pretty well. You know what I like. And I like when a movie may have a lot of heart but not a lot of money. And this movie had a shitload of money.
Yeah, they already have a sequel. They're working on a sequel, which is weird to me because if you look on Wikipedia, it says that the sequel's not supposed to come out until 2019. So, like, that's a long fucking time. Like,
yeah, that's a 4-year gap between something that should be. I mean, really, I feel like they kind of wrapped up the story well enough that we don't need a Deathgasm 2. I mean, even if the movie was good, I don't think we really need a Deathgasm 2.
Yeah. No. So let me talk about a few things that I did enjoy, and enjoy in the like grasping at straws for things. Where I'm like, okay, that was all right. You know what I mean?
You know, you guys are allowed to enjoy parts of this movie. Don't let me stop you.
No. But
I just am very upset with the fact that this movie's so popular. That's all.
So right out the gate, I was kind of into the opening credits animation. I love any time a horror movie has opening credits animation. It's, you know, if you want to get me invested right away, you do that. I think that I have a note that says, I super relate to this D&D scene while I think Scott and Adam relate to the fantasizing while listening to metal while someone else talks about D&D scene.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, if that's what happens when I listen to Dragon Force, I mean, that's not the worst thing in the world.
Let's see, there's a couple quotes that I have here that I enjoyed. Great shading on the demon penises. Our name can just be 13 S's. Brody's ice cream date is a snapshot of my actual dating life.
Maybe don't wear corpse paint.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
Let's see. I enjoyed the bit where Brody kills his clearly not possessed cousin. I thought the decapitation actually looked pretty solid. And
that was probably the funniest part of the movie as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Like, no, he came in and he said something about Satan. You heard that, right? Yeah.
I appreciate that they spelled Satan wrong when they burned Hail Satan into the grass.
Yeah, Hail Satan. But the thing is that they don't really mention that, and so it's kind of a dig at metalheads for being idiots.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I feel like that joke would have been a lot funnier if they would have done it and then been like, oh, fuck. And that's all they would have had to say. It would have been one line of dialogue, and it would have made the joke work for me.
The only other note that I have, it says, one of the bullies that beats up Brody is the weakest looking dude I've ever seen. Like, it's like this skinny redhead kid with an afro that's like kicking him with his cousin. And the whole time watching, I'm like, Brody, you could take that kid. You could absolutely take that kid. I just, this was definitely like, I was watching it and I had plans for the rest of the day and I just kept like checking my watch. I'm like, this thing's not even 90 minutes. Like, why is this taking so long?
It feels like a lifetime. I was watching it on Netflix and I was scrubbing through parts because I was like, I don't really need to remember their stupid conversations because I know what happens. I just want to get to the gore so that I have something to talk about. And I'm like halfway and I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I feel like even though it borrows from a lot, and I mean a lot, I feel like put in the right hands, this could have been better. Like I would have. This could have been a movie where I was like, yes, I want to own this movie and watch it and show it to everybody. If it was just handled a little bit differently, and I don't know how you would fix it per se, but it's like you said, like it just nothing about it felt sincere. And I feel like if you did this movie, even though it pulls a lot of Evil Dead and it pulls a lot of Todd and the Book of Pure Evil, if it came off as like sincere, I think it would have worked. And this is something that we're going to talk about next week, I think, as well, is like the line of horror comedy is such a difficult one to walk because you have to be legitimately funny. And if you're not legitimately funny, then it's a struggle. But then additionally, like when you're doing the horror stuff, you have to actually have some sincerity behind the horror. Like I never felt a sense of danger because they didn't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like when you're having a dildo fight in the middle of the apocalypse, it's hard to really think that the apocalypse is going to happen. So I don't know. Like
I never once felt like anyone except for the people in this small town were in any kind of danger. This was not like a world-ending thing or an apocalyptic thing. It was just this small New Zealand town was gonna get destroyed. I guess it didn't matter. Like it's all encapsulated in that scene where the guy with no eyes is talking to the cult, and he's like explaining the entire plot of this, like blah blah blah.
Exposition.
Yeah, he's exposition. You have to get rid of the book. Don't let them reverse the thing. And I'm like, I don't care. Like just shut up. Keep going. Don't stop here. Like just go. Come on. Get me to the next head explosion. Get me to the next decapitation.
Get me to the cult leader's titties, because those were nice.
Get me to
the credits. Take me to the credits.
Take me to the credits.
That's what I feel like. God damn it, this movie.
Why?
Yeah, and the thing is, I scrubbed through the cult leader's boob shot, so I only got that one time watching this, which is fine. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but that's this movie. It's not the end of the world.
That should have been the tagline to this film. Deathgasm. It's not the end of the world. It sucks because there's not a ton that I can go off substance wise on this movie, because it really is the whole time just man, remember that episode of Todd in the Book of Pure Evil where there's just so
all of these things already happen. Yeah, when the teacher shits blood, I'm like, well, that happened in Todd in the Book of Pure Evil.
Yeah.
So I want to just I want to make fun of the. Can I just go through my notes, which are all making fun of the lead character?
I wrote that he kind of looks like Weird Al Yankovic in the beginning of this movie.
Oh, when he had his fro or whatever?
Well, when he had his, super long hair and he's just kind of got that stretched out face. I don't know. I know a lot about Weird Al, so maybe I'm the only person that made that comparison.
Yeah, I think that you just want to see Weird Al everywhere, so you make it happen.
Yes.
So I'm going to let me just rip on this kid
This movie would be better if it was UHF.
Yeah, well, maybe you can pick that next time we pick a movie that is supposed to be horror but isn't, a.k.a. next week. Okay, so listen. Sweet combo amp, brah, because he gets out of the car and he's carrying his guitar without a case and this shitty Marshall combo amp, and I'm like, oh my god, this movie sucks so hard. And the kid sucks. And then the Trivium poster happens, and he also talks about this doesn't make sense because then he doesn't have any Trivium CDs. He's got obscure shit like anal cunt, and she's like, I know cunt. Oh, that's and he's like, oh yeah, that's not for you. But that joke sucks because that joke is just, hey, let me say a funny band name. Anal Cunt doesn't even take itself seriously.
All he had to do was throw on Art Fag by Anal Cunt. She would have been like, yeah, this is pretty good. I like this.
Well, I guess if we were still doing relevant metal song, that would be the song. So then somebody said something about lower cases for pussies. Oh, Deathgasm in all caps, lower cases for pussies. That's the asshole that bangs the girl and is a shitty friend all around. Basically, the archetype of Adam's friends.
Yeah, I hated that guy. That was the point in the movie where it all really kind of turned for me, because that guy goes ahead and hooks up with the chick that his friend likes, and then Brody immediately gets his ass kicked. I'm like, well, this guy's a douchebag and Brody's a pussy. Who do I like in this movie? Nobody. Fuck it.
It was way too close to home for Adam. Remind him of high school. But they say that the lower cases for pussies. He's like, Deathgasm, all caps, because lower cases for pussies. I've actually heard bands in real life tell me that. They're like, yeah, because I used to do logo design and posters and stuff for bands that I would play with and everything when I was in metal, in a metal band. And I've had more than one person be like, yeah, and put our name in all caps. It's better that way. Seriously? Okay. So heavy metal up your butthole. It flies across the screen in one section here. And I realized the first time I watched this that this movie is about as edgy as a Hot Topic. So, I mean, this movie is basically Hot Topic metal. That's all it is. But then I think that they do, this is the point where they do their music video, which I have to give them credit for being a pretty good satire of black metal, low quality black metal videos, because That's every black metal video that you've ever seen. Is that dumbass guys in corpse paint and like arm gauntlets, just headbanging in the woods, and making goofy faces. It's at the camera, but then their synth player, whatever, Dion, he just starts jerking off the edge of the sword, and he won't stop. Okay, that is the one funny part of the movie, right there.
That hits a little too close to home for Scott.
Yeah, I'm jerking off sword hilts every day.
No, I mean the headbanging in the woods thing, actually.
Oh, well, yeah. Matt, cut the part where I talk about jerking off a sword hilt. Just keep that other part. But I have to share something with you guys that you probably don't know about me. I fucking hate black metal. Have I told you guys how much I hate black metal? I'm sure I have. Black metal is the most juvenile of all metals. And if any black metal person hears me say that, I'll probably get death threats because they have no sense of humor, which is the worst part about black metal. But so after they finish their video, he goes and has that, his ice cream date with her, which is completely unrealistic because no pretty girl has ever been attracted to metal dudes. Like, it's totally unreal expectations, which I will touch upon when we get to What Did We Watch, because I think that the male fantasy has been very strong this week in my life, and it's very frustrating. So there's that. But question for both of you guys, especially Matt, because Matt and I are a little bit closer in age than Adam. Adam's the baby of the podcast. But when we were watching high school movies in high school, were they this fucking corny?
It's tough to say, but probably. But no, actually, no, it's not, because I can rewatch Scream, which was like my horror movie that me and my friends would watch all the time, and I still think that movie holds up great.
Because, yeah, I agree, absolutely.
Because it treated everything with sincerity. Like, Scream is a very funny movie, but it still treats every moment of terror with absolute sincerity when it's happening.
Yeah, and also, beyond that, there's a real tangible level of, like, I don't know, purity, like, I don't know what the term is that I'm looking for, but they talk about other horror movies, they refer back to other horror movies. It lives in a world where horror movies are a thing.
But it doesn't slap you in the face the whole time with, like, we're making references to movies. It
all comes back to sincerity again, right? Like, that's what it's all about. And I know we keep fucking saying that, but Scream is very sincere in its love and homage of horror movies. Stuff like this, I wouldn't put this on, like, the level of, what was that shitty half-an-hour movie with, like, Triceratops and all that?
Oh, yeah, it's not Kung Fury, but, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't put, like, Deathgasm on the same level as that. I feel like they had good intentions here, but they just come off as insincere and just childish and idiotic. I don't like it.
I think that you're absolutely right. That they had an idea and they were trying to be sincere about it. I wish there was another term I could use so that it doesn't sound so redundant. But yeah, I'm sure that their intentions were relatively good, but then I feel like they just didn't Wikipedia enough metal bands, because they kind of that's what I'm saying about, like, Scream lives in a world where there are horror movies. Basically, this kid in this movie goes to a town where there's no such thing as metal, and so nobody understands. I mean, it's 2015 when this movie came out. Maybe if it was 1984 when this movie was based, when metal was this new weird thing. I mean, New Zealand is not 3 decades behind the rest of the world. Metal is pretty well accepted. I understand that it's something that needed to be part of the storyline for this movie to make the whole work, but I think it's just lazy writing for a movie that comes out in 2015.
Doesn't it kind of ring true, though, that a kid who's like 15, 16 in high school would really only know the surface level, like Trivium and all these, like, bands? Like, he would only have begun to sort of scratch the surface of...
Well, I understand where you're going with that, and I want to agree with you, but you're giving this movie a little too much credit, because, like, there's the internet. They don't even talk about the internet. Or I mean, they might. I think they might make a quick joke about the internet, but I mean, like, but then they have that metal magazine that they find the guy who had the black hymn. They find his address. He's like, "Oh, you got outed." He's like, "Fuck, we're all gonna die." So but it's weird. Like that's what I'm saying is that he's got a Trivium poster and he knows about Anal Cunt, and then he knows about, like, I want to say there was a Dragon Force CD in that pile. I don't know. But then he talks about bands that don't exist, that are like, the implication is that they're so obscure that you've never heard of them. And so it's like,
it'd be like,
why would he like Trivium if he likes bands that are so obscure? Because Trivium's not even metal. They're like hard rock.
It would be like if I had written a movie where my main character was really into pop punk, but the only stuff he talked about was like Blink-182 and Green Day, and then when he wanted to tell someone about a really underground band, he was like, "Yo, have you ever heard of Cobra Starship?" Like, it's just like... like, it's just like...
Why aren't you making that movie right now? Get off the podcast, go make that movie. But then you should have him be wearing a Wonder Years t-shirt.
Well, if he's from Philly, he will.
The Wonder Years is so over the top, overrated, and if you're basing it in Philly, that would be like him having a Trivium poster and then only talking about obscure bands.
Yeah. Oh, the Wonder Years.
They turned on the fountain today at Logan Circle.
Is that an obscure punk band that I don't know about? That song?
No, that's the Wonder Years.
Yeah, but the way you sung it, you sounded like Tom DeLonge.
That's exactly what the Wonder Years sounds like. Shut up.
Dude, there is such a... Since we're barely talking about the movie anyway, there is such a terrible thing going on with pop punk right now, where it's just like, man, I can count the amount of good pop punk bands that I've enjoyed on like one hand, and I will talk about one of them later on in the episode. I guess I was going to save that for next week, but I'll do it this week, I guess.
Talk about, because didn't you just go see them like last night?
Yeah. So, but like that, in general, like every time someone's like, "Hey, you should check out this pop punk band," I'm like, like I'm just like super...
Did you become me?
Yeah, like I'm super unimpressed by almost all of, like, people rave to me about like the Wonder Years and Major League and mixtapes, and then I checked all three of them out and was just like, oh god, this is not that good. Like, Wonder Years I think is a good band, but there's nothing catchy about it, and pop punk needs to be fucking catchy.
Here's my biggest problem with the Wonder Years, and it has been since The Upsides, which was their second record, but it was the first thing I ever heard from them. He has such a very particular vocal delivery that every band started sounding like Good Friends or something like that.
Real Friends.
Real Friends. Oh my god, they're forgettable as shit. Megan and I went out to Detroit to see. This was, I want to say 2 winters ago. It might be 3 by this point. We went out to see the Starting Line play like a Christmas show, and Real Friends played right before them, and I was agape at how many people knew their lyrics. I was like, this band is a Wonder Years cover band, and the Wonder Years isn't even worth covering. They all their songs sound the same. And the thing about the Wonder Years is, like, I honestly couldn't tell you a song name, because all the songs are interchangeable. Like, his vocal delivery is the same, his melodies are the exact same, the guitar riffs are the exact same. Like, there's nothing creative or new about it beyond this weird mold that they fill every song. It feel like that they use for every single song. So you're not wrong about that. I just don't understand it. And then there are millions of bands now that are copying that same style, which it's weird because they have the same stage presence where they hold the mic in a really odd way. Like, they're holding it like at a 45-degree angle so that the mic itself is at their face, but their thumb is facing the floor and their pinky is facing the ceiling. It makes no sense to me, and they act like so socially awkward on stage, and people love the shit out of it. I don't understand it all. and they all sing the same. Like I guess that the same thing happened when Blink-182 got really famous, but I don't know. Maybe the internet's just made it easier for all these paint by numbers Wonder Years wannabes to come out of the woodwork. But I agree with you, Matt. I really could not tell you a good pop punk or even like emo or anything band that's come out in the last 5 years that I liked.
I got
Everybody
a couple.
wants to sound like them. They either want to sound like the Wonder Years or they want to rip off A Day to Remember, which is weird because A Day to Remember is ripping off Newfound Glory.
We are going to have so many fucking flame wars in the Facebook thread on this one.
I'm excited. It's going to be
Good.
great.
Okay, so Adam, you suggest some to me, and I'm probably going to tell you, you've already suggested them to me, and I didn't like them. You also like this really weird. You like Pup and
I like Pup too.
But I don't. It's very dull. Like the music doesn't have a shine to it, and I don't know. It kind of reminds me of early '90s punk rock before Green Day kind of polished that turd. You know, it's just like kind of grungy. And I understand that grunge everything and clothes, like clothes music and personality type and hair and all fashion, everything is trying to emulate 1992 right now, which is weird because the fashion and music in 1992 is garbage. I remember I was alive, or maybe they're at 1995 now, but it's not worth copying, and I don't know why they're doing it. But it's also seeped into pop punk and punk rock, and there are no new bands. I mean, there are bands that I've been following for like a decade that have come out with some moderately good stuff in the last 5 years, but man, it's been rough. Adam, you go ahead, tell me, but I mean, that might be stuff that I've already heard of.
Okay, I didn't want to do this on air. I was just going to tell you afterwards, but fucking we'll do it. Have you heard Cloud Nothings?
No?
I like them. They're pretty good. We've got Messengers. Messengers is pretty good.
Oh, yeah, I Don't Want to Be an Asshole Anymore?
Yeah, I
and
enjoy
like
that.
Burn After Writing and stuff. That's a good band. I know I've suggested it, and I don't think either of you liked it, but I like Direct Hit. I think Direct Hit's pretty sweet, and they have a new album that just came out this year, which doesn't hold up to Brainless God, but that was pretty sweet as well.
I will give it a listen. No promises.
It's another concept album, except this one is just all about doing like LSD and drugs and stuff.
Oh, wow. Right up my alley.
Yeah, I know. That's your scene. You're like a young Hunter
right now.
Thompson. Yeah. So those are
You
three.
like Hunter S. Thompson.
You ever read Fear and Loathing?
Oh, man. Edgy teenagers have definitely read Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. So this is relevant to this week's discussion.
Yeah, there you go. You should lend Noah Todd in the Book of Pure Evil and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
And a tab of LSD.
Well, because I have them just scattered amongst the house. That should be it.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
sorry.
you make
I
it in your
forgot
bathtub, don't you?
Forgetting that Matt doesn't really like to dabble in the... he doesn't like to talk about the dark arts at all, like drugs.
So I am going to assume that we are done talking about Deathgasm and move on.
We were done talking about Deathgasm 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, pretty much. So I actually have been running all over the place and haven't really had time to sit down and watch any movies, but I did go to my friend's band's record release show, and since it ties in so nicely with Deathgasm and the conversation that we just had about pop punk, I figure I'm going to give them a shout out instead. My friends have a band called The Danger Club, and they've been working on this album for about 2 years now. It was recorded and mixed by Bill Henderson, who's the guitarist for Thursday.
Oh, nice.
And the album is fantastic. It's the type of pop punk that I wish more bands were doing. It has this weird... The way I describe it is like if you blended Punchline with Thursday, you would kind of get a little bit of what this band's sound is. Because it's very politically driven, but it's catchy. It's got like occasional breakdowns, but it's mostly just like straight pop punk. The dude is a huge... The guy who writes all his songs is just one of the geekiest dudes, which I think is why I like him so much, like why I like them so much. But like, their song titles all either are references to like the Welcome to Night Vale podcast, or like spells in Dungeons and Dragons, or quotes from wrestlers. Like, it's all like the song titles all come from stuff that he cares about, but then it's all turned into very just catchy, politically driven stuff. Check out their album is called The Good Times Are Over. I highly recommend if you're looking for a song to kind of get a feel for what they sound like. I recommend either the C Word or the Blinking Light on the Top of the Mountain, or Eater of Worlds. All three of those are fucking fantastic songs. So definitely give them a listen, and that's all I've got right now. So Adam or Scott, whichever one of you guys wants to do something.
I'm saving my big one for next week so I can save the episode.
Yeah, because it's going to fail and it's going to be your fault.
Yeah. But I mean, more Westworld, more Ash versus Evil Dead.
I would watch the shit out of Ash versus Evil Dead.
I have 100% watched The Evil Head before, and it's not as sexy as you'd think it would be. So, yeah, just caught up on all that, which is great. Westworld still doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, and it's coming towards the end of the season. I don't think it's going to start making sense anytime soon. I'm totally okay with that. And, yeah, new Bob's Burgers, new Simpsons, new South Park, all that jazz. It's all fine. Nothing particularly blowing me away right now.
All right.
Nothing's giving you the evil head.
I'd rather watch that again than fucking Deathgasm.
Well, I'm going to say the same thing about your pick next week, so get ready for that. I watched Heavyweights because it just came out. Well, we watched Heavyweights because it just came out on Netflix, and so everybody's watching Heavyweights. And this is only the second time I've ever watched it, both times since meeting my wife, because I never watched it as a kid. And again, as I said earlier on, with a good-looking woman being interested in a metalhead, the unrealistic romantic portion of Heavyweights is also pretty damaging for fat dudes, because that doesn't happen in real life. All right, guys, like, it just doesn't happen. There's no sexy nurse waiting to see the good in you. Like, turn that shit around gender-wise, and have some like super good-looking dude who goes after a woman who's 40 pounds, 50 pounds, I don't know how much, overweight, and you tell me if that's realistic. So just take that into consideration. That's my 2 cents for this week.
But on that note, Heavyweights is pretty great.
Yeah, that's still a great fucking movie.
Except for that part. And also, Lars is so underrated.
Oh, yeah. Like, he's the best character.
The best part of that. Yeah. Yeah.
It's also, my favorite thing about that movie is like the last 5 minutes when Ben Stiller goes like straight horror movie serial killer, where he's just like smashing glass on the ground and stepping over it like the fucking Terminator. It is so absurd.
Yeah, I mean, I really dislike Ben Stiller. I always have. I've always thought he's just so insufferable, but it's actually pretty funny in that movie. I think it's because it's a little bit less over the top than what he normally does, except for that one spot.
Well, I think a big element of it, though, is normally when he's over the top, it feels misplaced. But this one, it's like, no, his character, like, that is exactly what that character needs to be. Like, that character needs to be the most over top fucking, jumping on a tree branch and doing fucking flips and shit. I always enjoy there's like the one line where it's like he's doing his morning jog and he just sees a log in the middle of the...
And he picks it up, yeah.
He goes, "Get out of my way, devil log!"
That's what I'm going to call my next metal band.
Devil log?
Yeah, and it's all going to be about having the inability to poop out a really large devil log.
Well, just make sure that it's all in caps, because lowercase is for pussies.
Yeah, it's true. If there's one thing that Deathgasm taught me, it's that hot women will flock to me, and I will have to have my band name in all in caps.
All right, well, that was Deathgasm from 2015. Just giving you a quick reminder that this one was picked by one of our listeners, Noah, so you can send us recommendations. You can send them to us at hmnpodcast@gmail.com. And additionally, if you want to know about what movies are coming up in the near future, you can do that by heading over to the Patreon and making a donation. If you make a donation of $10, or actually $5 or more, we will let you know an entire month's worth of movies in advance so you can sit down, watch them, and figure out how you feel about them before we tell you how to feel about them. So check that out at patreon.com/HMS podcast and give us a little donation because it's helping us do some live events. We've got some cool stuff coming up.
Matt, you did say HMS podcast. It's HMN podcast.
That is true.
Just so you know.
Yeah, I will.
You can also.
Yes.
We got it. We're good. Don't you worry. You can also check us out on Twitter at HMN Podcast. I'm following people on there all the time, posting offensive shit. So,
but not posting our new episodes. So don't get too excited, people.
Yeah, no, I leave that up to Zombie Kitty. She does that for us.
And if you go to soundcloud.com/horror movie night, you can listen to our entire back catalog as well as some bonus content, some mailbags. I think that pretty much every song that I've written, well, the two songs that I've written for this podcast specifically are on there. Yeah, I mean it's a good time, and you can comment on there. It always tickles us to see people make fun of us in real time. So check that out too.
All right, guys, we'll be back next week with a movie that Adam picked for us, and we're
not too happy about it.
We'll see how we feel.
You know what Deathgasm really needed was a gunshot to the head of Trepidation. That's what.
If you ever touch her again, is that what the man? Man, Trivium's so bad. Even when that CD first came out, my metalhead buddy Mario was like, "Hey, check out this band," and I'm like, "Okay, it's pretty cool. This one song. I mean, but Trivium's terrible."
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.